What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to evaluate my favorite NFL draft prospect coming straight out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, a safety who the Giants have met with over the course of this weekend. They met with him via Zoom over the past day or so, and I'm looking forward to diving into him and talking to you folks as a Notre Dame fan myself about what he could bring to the table and what Kyle Hamilton could bring to this New York Giants defense, and my prediction whether or not I think the Giants should target him in the early first round. But before I get into that, folks, make sure to go check us out on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. Appreciate all the support that we've gotten. Let's keep it up, folks. We do these videos for you, and I have so much fun doing it. Looking forward to breaking down more and more draft prospects as we get closer to April 28th, night one of the 2022 NFL Draft. So, Kyle Hamilton. So, the Giants have met with him via a Zoom meeting. This is a junior who played 3 seasons at Notre Dame, and this guy last year only played 7 games. He had an injury the second half of the season, but in the 7 games he did play for Notre Dame, had 34 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 4 passes defended. And his success in South Bend dates back to 2019 as a freshman, where he had 4 interceptions. Throughout his Notre Dame career, had 138 tackles, 8 picks, and he's not really just a safety. He's a coverage safety / linebacker, meaning he can provide some run support, he can drop back into coverage, and he can diagnose receivers' route running pretty well. He has a great football IQ in pass coverage as well. So you can view him as a hybrid player because of his height. He's 6'4". I do think he needs to beef up a little bit muscle-wise. He's around 220 pounds. So I'd like to see him put a little bit of weight on, maybe, 10 to 15 pounds. But, I think he would make a great safety / linebacker in the NFL. I view him more as a safety. Now, the Seahawks have also interviewed Hamilton. They currently hold the 9th overall pick, and the Saints have interviewed him as well. They're picking 18th. Now, this kid is 21 years old, and he's not your typical safety, as I was alluding to. Great size, speed, and athleticism for a guy his size. As I mentioned, his football IQ is insane. He's a really good tackler in space, and he is great in run support. And I'm going to dive into some film in just a few moments. But talking about his speed, this guy ran a 4.59 40-yard dash, and he's projected as an immediate starter in year 1. And Mel Kiper actually has the Lions taking him 2nd overall. I'm not so sure he goes that high. I believe the last time a safety was drafted very high was Jamal Adams. He was picked 6th overall back in 2017. And then before that, you have to go back to 2012 when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took Mark Barron. That was 7th overall back in 2012. Now, why would drafting Kyle Hamilton make sense for the Giants? Well, there's a few reasons why I think drafting Kyle Hamilton would make sense. The Giants released Logan Ryan earlier this offseason. Did not save them much money. The organization clearly wanted to move on from him. Jabril Peppers is an unrestricted free agent coming off a gruesome injury last season. Shane and Bean, while in Buffalo together, also targeted defensive players early on in the draft. Examples include Tre'Davious White, AJ Epineza. The last defensive player the Giants took with their first pick in the draft was Eli Apple back in 2016. Now, obviously, the Giants took 2 defensive players in the first round in 2019, but they came after Daniel Jones, and I'm talking about Dexter Lawrence and DeAndre Baker. So this interview with Kyle Hamilton, it may not mean so much to New York, but in the end, when you're picking in the top 10, have 2 top 10 draft picks. This is a guy you must interview when he's expected to go in the top 10, because he might be available at either 5 or 7. There's rumors whether or not the Giants have wanted to trade back from one of these picks. I think they should. I think they should trade back from number 7 for a team that needs a quarterback or whatever. But I think maybe stock up in 2023, add more draft capital for next year, gives you more shots at drafting a quarterback next year if they don't retain Daniel Jones, and it gives the Giants some financial security. Unfortunately, due to the cap situation, if James Bradbury is not moved, which seems unlikely, I think he will be moved before the draft, the Giants won't be able to afford two top 10 picks. You could make the argument even after trading James Bradbury, they still wouldn't be able to afford two top 10 picks in this year's NFL draft. Dave Gettleman, that is the gift that keeps on giving. But, folks, before I dive into this quick film session with Kyle Hamilton, I have about 5 or 6 clips I want to show you about his time at Notre Dame this past season. That is, remember to check out our sponsor, BetUS, America's #1 favorite sports book, where you can bet from your mobile device on the go, anywhere, anytime. Get the quickest and best lines. You get fast live payouts, and you can sign up with our promo code below at join125 for a 125% sign up bonus up to $2,500. That is BetUS, where the game begins. Always glad to shout out our proud sponsor. And now let's get into some film with Kyle Hamilton. And then after the film session is over, I'm going to make my decision whether or not I think the Giants should draft Kyle Hamilton. So I'm going to share my screen here quickly for you folks. So we're going to dive into some film, and this is the first game of the season this past year against Florida State. Obviously, this was a close game. A lot of people argue that Notre Dame played down to their opponent, but here you can see Kyle Hamilton is chasing down a receiver, much smaller, much quicker than him. Mentioned he was a captain at Notre Dame, and we'll kind of look at this here. Chasing down a defender, he gets body position on him. He recognizes the football, makes a nice play, and keeps both feet in bounds for a nice interception. I believe he had 2 interceptions in this game against Florida State. And here, Notre Dame, one of the best defenses in the country last year. That's why Marcus Freeman is now their head coach. You see, I believe this guy's related to Tua Tagovailoa. Believe he has a weird last name, but he's chasing down the quarterback here. I believe this might have been the point where Mackenzie Milton was in the game. But anyway, Kyle Hamilton, you can see him making a nice diving interception here, covering a lot of green, makes a nice play. There's a couple different angles of this play. You can see at the beginning here, he's somewhat flat-footed in a zone, has to make a decision whether he's going to take on this slot receiver here, who's technically the tight end, or if he's going to chase down the receiver on a crossing pattern. Now, he has great eyes. He reads Mackenzie Milton's eyes. He runs towards the football and makes an outstanding play that not many safeties, especially at his size, could make. There's a nice play where he breaks one up. And here's the next game. I believe this is against Purdue. I want to show the start of this play. So here, Hamilton is not even on the screen to start this play. And this is a 4th and 1 for Purdue, right? And they're at the Notre Dame 34-yard line. And you see they do a little bunch line formation here with 2 linebackers. That's Bo Bauer and J.D. Bertrand. And then Hamilton just erupts. So they do a little handoff here, a little jet sweep. Hamilton immediately pops into this picture and makes the shoestring tackle. He makes the shoestring tackle to make a stop on 4th down. And I just want to go through this again. This is how you wrap a guy up that is smaller and quicker than you. And also, there's 2 blockers here. None of them pick up Kyle Hamilton. I think the second guy may have noticed last second, but he easily gets by Bo Bauer. He's trying to get around his blockers, but Hamilton at 6'4" is just way too fast and shoots the gap to perfection. Not even close. Now on this play, right, they're in the Notre Dame red zone now, and you see Hamilton right here. This is a different possession, by the way. He's right here, lined up in Notre Dame's end zone. Now, he's looking at the quarterback and where he's going with the football. It's a nice job breaking up the play by this player, and Hamilton is kind of right place, right time, good hands for a safety. And I'll show that one more time. kind of in slow motion. The play's broken up, and kind of quarterback tries to fit the ball into a tight window. Hamilton makes a nice play. And folks, there's more with Kyle Hamilton. You want to know what he does as a gunner as well? I have that too. If the Giants want to use him on special teams, if they draft him, they can. Here he is lined up. He's kind of cut off in the bottom part of your screen here. The tall guy with the navy blue sleeve on his arm. So Notre Dame's punting the football. Hamilton makes his way down the field with ease. Look how quick he is. He beats his blocker and immediately decks the punt returner. And this is against Cincinnati, a team who made the college football playoff this year. I mean, Luke Fickell is known, the head coach for the Bearcats, is known for having a tremendous special teams. And look what Hamilton's able to do. I mean, this guy's the full package when it comes to an NFL draft prospect. I don't think we've seen a safety like this in quite some time. Hell, I think he's going to be a better NFL talent than Jamal Adams and the last great safety the Giants had in Landon Collins. Now, should Big Blue draft Kyle Hamilton? Well, this is where it gets interesting. So the Giants, they still have Xavier McKinney and Julian Love on their roster. Now, Julian Love is entering a contract year. Also a safety out of Notre Dame. Fun fact that the Giants drafted 3 years ago. And then X-Men, who they drafted out of Alabama. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if Hamilton is still going to be available come number 5 or number 7. The Texans need some help on defense. I've come to my sources that the Jets are very likely to draft Sauce Gardner, although we don't know that for sure. It's still early in this process. I think Hamilton should be the number 1 secondary player off the board. He could go to Detroit, like Mel Kiper was saying. He could go to Houston, even though Thibodeau and Hutchinson are the top 2 prospects. Maybe not the top 2 prospects, but projected to go 1 and 2 at this time. I'm still not sure what happens. But if Hamilton's on the board at 7, maybe you think about it. But I don't think the Giants should draft Kyle Hamilton because you're going to have to pay Xavier McKinney. And Julian Love is a safety you could live with at the starting level in the NFL. I think the Giants have other holes on this team that they need to fill, like the offensive line, like the edge rusher position, inside linebacker. They need to pair somebody up there with Blake Martinez so that they can cover better, cover the middle of the field. Giants have a lot of holes on this team, and I don't know if it's in the cards to take a safety in round 1, especially with these rumors that the Giants are trading James Bradberry. Giants should try to get Sauce Gardner over Kyle Hamilton, in my opinion. And this is coming from a Notre Dame fan. But the ceiling is insane for this guy. If he somehow slips to number 7 and the Giants, are in a healthy situation cornerback-wise, then you may want to target him. Maybe you want to target him. For some reason, if the Giants go Thibodeau at 5 and linemen are off the board, maybe you take him as well. I think it's more likely the Giants take a guy like Charles Cross or Ike Mekwonu, but Kyle Hamilton would look really good in Big Blue. My final decision is that the Giants are unlikely to draft Kyle Hamilton. Folks, if you like what you watch, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Really appreciate all the support that we've gotten over the past few months. And folks, without further ado, let's go Big Blue.